Welcome to a Powerless Mage presence.
And welcome back to another edition of the Deep Dive.
This is your Express Pass, the place where we take that huge stack of sources you send us and we cut through all the noise.
Our job is to extract those key nuggets of knowledge, of insight, and turn what feels like information overload into pure, actionable clarity.
And our deep dive today, I think, is maybe one of the most vital we've ever taken on.
I agree with that. We're tackling an issue that affects, almost everyone on some level, yet it's something that remains largely invisible.
We are diving into a mindset, a way of thinking that so many people genuinely believe is their greatest defense, their shield.
But which is, according to all the material we've reviewed, one of the most destructive forces in modern life.
That force is modern cynicism. And, that word gets thrown around a lot.
It does.
But we're not just talking about, simple skepticism or having a moment of doubt here and there. That's healthy.
Right. We're talking about the pervasive, insidious, and really corrosive variety, the kind that might be silently robbing you, our listener, of genuine connection.
And not just connection, but vital opportunities and ultimately profound fulfillment. It's been labeled the silent pandemic.
And our goal today is really twofold. First, to diagnose this mental infection.
And then, more importantly, to give you the tools, what our sources are calling the revolutionary cure, to fight back.
Before we really unpack the mechanics of this, let's try something. Let's use the exact thought experiment our source material proposes.
Okay.
It's a way to immediately check your own internal operating system. This is a moment for, some real self-reflection.
I'm ready. So imagine this. Right now, a stranger, or maybe even a colleague you don't know that well, walks up to you.
They look you right in the eye and they say, "I have a gift for you."
And this gift, it could be something small, a simple act of kindness, like buying your coffee.
Or it could be something more substantial, maybe offering a sincere recommendation for a job you really want.
The question is, what is the immediate, instinctive, that almost subconscious thought that flashes through your mind?
Okay, listen closely to these three main options and just notice which one feels most natural to you.
Option 1. Do you think, how wonderful, they must be a generous person?
It's genuine appreciation for altruism.
Mm.
Okay, then there's option 2. Do you consider, I must deserve this? My hard work is finally kidding off.
That's a confident acknowledgement of your own worth.
Right. Or, and this is the subtle but really dangerous one,
Option 3. Does your mind immediately jump to, what's the hidden agenda here?
what do they want in return?
They're giving me something worthless, or they're just softening me up to manipulate me later?
And how expensive is the future price going to be?
If your initial, that knee-jerk reflex, leans strongly toward that third option, toward suspicion,
Toward that automatic assumption of a hidden selfish motive, then our sources suggest you are highly susceptible to, or maybe even already infected by, modern cynicism.
it's like a core wiring issue that we really need to address.
And we have to be so specific about our target here.
Very important distinction coming up.
We are not talking about the original classical philosophical current of cynicism. That was something else entirely. It was actually a quest for virtue.
Right. The cynics, like Diogenes, they rejected material wealth and all the societal norms to try and achieve, independence and moral clarity.
Exactly. It was a positive, even if it was a pretty extreme philosophical movement.
What we're dealing with today is its modern, sort of twisted successor.
And the difference is just stark. The original cynics sought truth and freedom through austerity.
Well, the modern version uses the belief that nothing is true to justify stagnation and isolation.
It's profoundly useless, and it's actively harmful.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's set our objective really clearly for this deep dive.
Let's do it.
Our mission is to analyze the destructive nature of this modern mindset, to understand its profound uselessness, and to distinguish it from necessary healthy caution.
And most importantly, to provide you with the tools to actively challenge that cynical thinking, to choose authenticity.
Right, so that you can lead a more connected and, frankly, a more fulfilling life.
We are here to help you break free from what is ultimately a self-made prison.
So let's start with a clean, clear definition. If we are going to treat this problem, we need to know exactly what it is we're treating.
Absolutely.
What is the core, the toxic ingredient that defines modern cynicism, according to the sources?
The core ingredient is this absolute, totalizing belief in self-interest. But, and this is crucial, it's the belief that this self-interest is always destructive.
Always. That's a strong word.
It's an absolute. Modern cynicism is a way of thinking that insists that everyone, and I mean universally, from your political leaders all the way down to the person who offers you a spare charger, everyone always has hidden reasons for acting. And those reasons invariably put their own gain, their own self-interest above the common good.
So it's more than just acknowledging that people are, flawed or imperfect.
Oh, much more. It's a flat-out refusal to acknowledge the possibility of genuine good. It denies the very existence of authentic reasons for kindness.
Or spontaneous generosity, or just simple, honest understanding.
Exactly. A modern cynic operates as if any display of support or goodwill or even basic politeness is nothing more than a carefully crafted mask.
A mask hiding what?
A darker, selfish, and often exploitative agenda. So, if a colleague praises your work, the cynic's mind immediately goes to, they're secretly trying to offload more tasks onto me.
Right. Or if a nonprofit asks for a donation.
They're just paying their executives high salaries. There is no middle ground. There is no room for benefit of the doubt.
And this creates a devastatingly negative mental filter, doesn't it? The sources paint this picture of the cynical worldview as a constant state of alert.
A state of siege, really.
Yeah, where the world is just utterly populated by, and I'm quoting here, thieves, liars, and swindlers, just waiting for you to drop your guard.
That's the psychological reality of the cynic. They are living in a permanent state of high alert. They see every institution, every single relationship, every transaction as a battlefield.
And everyone else is a predator.
Everyone else is a predator, just waiting to swoop in and snatch away whatever the cynic values most.
Whether it's their money, their reputation.
Their peace of mind, their emotional energy. It's exhausting. I mean, it's just fundamentally unsustainable to live that way.
I can only imagine. I mean, if you approach every single interaction, every job interview, every business proposal, every personal text message, with that automatic assumption that it's a guaranteed lie intended only to manipulate you, how do you even begin to function constructively?
You don't.
Yeah.
And that leads us directly to what the sources highlight as its greatest tragedy.
Yeah.
The profound uselessness of this perspective.
Uselessness. Explain that.
Well, think about it. If you genuinely believe that everything is lies, and that people only operate on destructive hidden agendas, then there is absolutely no genuine reason to strive for anything positive.
Okay, give me some concrete examples of that paralysis. How does that belief translate into inaction?
Let's take career progression. If you believe your boss or your collaborators are fundamentally corrupt, you won't trust their guidance.
Right.
You're not going to propose innovative ideas because you'll just assume they'll steal the credit.
Makes sense.
And you won't seek out mentorship because you believe the mentor is only trying to exploit your time for their own gain.
So you just stop.
You stop. Why bother working hard if the system is rigged against any genuine ethical success? The cynic avoids the work and stays stuck, and then perpetually justifies their stagnation by blaming the rig system.
So it creates this kind of emotional and, I guess, intellectual paralysis.
That's a perfect way to put it.
If I fundamentally believe the world is rigged against any good outcome, my energy is better spent just preserving what I have, rather than trying to build or create something new.
Exactly. When cynicism is the default setting, it becomes impossible to find, as one source put it, something true in any person or situation.
The cynic has fundamentally painted themselves into a corner.
A very lonely corner. If nothing is solid and everyone is deceiving, then their own efforts, their attempt to build a career, a community, or a healthy relationship are rendered pointless from the start.
They think, I'll inevitably be exploited or betrayed, so why even take the risk?
And that's why it's so debilitating. It doesn't function as a shield. It acts as an anchor. It just stops you from moving forward.
The analogy I think works best here, and it's one from the sources, is that you are trying to build your life on quicksand. You can have the best blueprint for a happy future. You can have the finest intentions, the hardest work ethic. But if the foundational ground underneath you,
The trust.
the fundamental trust you must have in the basic integrity of the people and systems around you, if that's constantly dissolving because you believe nothing is solid or real,
You can't build.
I can't build a stable life. You just stand there, paralyzed, watching the quicksand bubble, and then you blame the quicksand for your lack of housing.
And that is the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy of suspicion.
How so?
By automatically assuming the worst possible scenario, the cynic actively avoids engaging in the very activities, things like vulnerability, trust building, shared effort, that would allow them to prove that the best parts of humanity actually exist.
And that those parts are worth engaging with.
Exactly. The emotional cost of this immediate assumption is total immobility. They end up being right that people are bad, but only because they refuse to ever give people a chance to be good.
And that immobility, that stagnation, is what makes this so relevant to our audience. Cynicism doesn't just feel safe, it feels smart.
It masquerades as intelligence.
Right. But the source material is shouting from the rooftops that it is actually the source of profound personal dissatisfaction. You are sacrificing your entire future for the comfort of having a universal explanation for every single bad outcome.
And that comfort is a powerful, very addictive force. It's so easy to say, it wasn't my fault I failed. The world is fundamentally corrupt.
But that brief comfort is paid for with the total absence of opportunity.
So we have to define the enemy clearly. It's that totalizing belief in destructive self-interest and the denial of genuine good.
A belief that leads directly to uselessness and paralysis. And we want you, our listener, to identify its presence in your life right now.
So let's just pause for a moment and let the implications of that begin with this first reflective question.
Okay, here it is. How many of your daily actions or efforts are undermined by the automatic assumption that the effort is useless because someone, somewhere, will inevitably try to deceive you?
Just take a moment. Think about it. Is that suspicion stopping you from applying for the raise? From starting that difficult but necessary conversation? Or maybe from engaging with a community effort?
That immediate preemptive surrender, that is the real cost of cynicism.
All right, this next section is crucial because we have to acknowledge the foundation of the cynic's distress.
Right, this isn't random.
Not at all. This mindset doesn't just emerge out of pure malice or a wild imagination. The initial impulse of distrust often has a legitimate, even a necessary basis.
That's a really critical point.
Right.
We are not advocating for, blind, unthinking optimism.
Absolutely not.
Our sources are very clear that this thinking doesn't emerge completely from nowhere. We're social beings, but we're also human.
Which means we have natural self-preserving and, yes, sometimes selfish tendencies. The historical record and our daily experiences are just full of evidence that people can be self-interested, manipulative, or even actively harmful.
So caution is a good thing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Being appropriately distrustful and cautious is completely natural. It's a survival mechanism, especially in situations where we don't have guarantees, where the stakes are high, and this is the most critical part.
Yes.
When we perceive clear, objective red flags in someone's behavior, we need caution to survive. The ability to spot a genuine scammer is a necessary tool.
Okay, so where is the line? Where is that critical dividing line where the necessary tool caution mutates into the crippling disease cynicism?
The critical distinction is that caution is an ongoing assessment. Cynicism is a preemptive condemnation.
Okay, break that down.
Caution says, I will observe your actions and your intentions over a sustained period of time. I will seek evidence of your reliability before I invest my full trust. It's open to evidence.
It's scientific in a way.
It is. Cynicism, on the other hand, says, I already know your actions are a lie meant to manipulate me, so I will never invest, regardless of any evidence you might present.
It's a closed case from the start.
The verdict is in before the trial even begins.
But I can hear the cynic arguing back right now. They'd say that assuming someone offers help only out of self-interest is the smartest, safest position to take.
And the sources insist that this assumption is just too simplistic. It's a caricature of human interaction.
Why is it too simplistic?
Because it ignores the fundamental mechanisms that allow civilization to function. Society is not built on pure, selfless altruism. That's a myth.
It's built on mutual benefit.
Exactly. We help others, and in doing so, we establish a system where we receive help in return. This reciprocal expectation is the foundation of commerce, of partnership, of community strength.
So let's really nail down that distinction because it's important. The difference between mutual benefit, which is good, and destructive self-interest, which is harmful.
Let's use an example. If I hire a lawyer to represent me, they are acting out of self-interest. They want to earn their fee.
And I am acting out of self-interest. I want to win my case.
Right. That is a perfect example of mutual benefit. Nobody is harmed. Both parties get what they want.
So making money or seeking success or advancing one's position, that's not inherently bad.
Not at all. The error the cynic makes is assuming the only way to achieve those goals is at the expense of harming others.
They collapse the two ideas into one.
They do. The cynical era is taking a true statement, people are sometimes self-interested, and elevating it to the false absolute statement, self-interest is always destructive and hidden.
They can't imagine a win-win scenario.
They can't fathom it. They can't see a situation where one person's benefit aligns naturally and transparently with another's.
But again, I hear the listener pushing back. I've been burned before. I've been betrayed. Why on earth should I risk that again?
And that's a valid pain.
The cynic is constantly looking for that hidden injury because they assume that in any transaction, someone has to be the loser.
And that's where their mental captivity begins. True, earn trust. It requires evidence, and that evidence has to be sustained over time.
Trust isn't a switch you just flip.
No, it's a process. It is built brick by brick through repeated interactions where reliability is proven time and time again.
And cynicism, it just short-circuits this entire building process.
Completely. It blows up the construction site before the first brick is even laid. When cynicism dominates, every single action, regardless of how neutral or positive it might appear, immediately triggers suspicion.
So if I'm cautious, I'm assessing the gift someone offers me.
Yes, but if you're cynical, you're already suspicious of the person holding the gift. That immediate filtering system sees every good intention as an instant trap.
This means they can never really move past the vetting stage. They can't leave the moderate caution of an initial acquaintance.
Move into genuine reliance or partnership or friendship.
They're stuck in the lobby.
Perpetually. And the most severe consequence of this, which the sources term the failure to build collective truth, is that if you deny the validity of genuine intentions or mutual benefit,
then you can never agree on the basic reality of what motivated an action.
you can't. You can't build shared projects, shared goals, or shared understandings with others because your internal narrative of suspicion always wins out over external, observable reality.
It's fascinating how the pursuit of safety through absolute certainty leads to, well, absolute isolation.
That's the paradox.
Caution lets you assess the field and move forward safely. Cynicism forces you to remain perpetually stuck in the shelter, just believing the outside is always toxic.
You have to be willing to acknowledge the possibility of a clear field. The choice is to stop assessing and start condemning. If you are not willing to look for the green light, you will spend your entire life waiting for a guaranteed betrayal that you yourself have engineered.
This is a heavy idea, so let's offer this reflective moment to the listener.
Okay, really think about this. In your pursuit of safety, are you allowing moderate caution to cross the line into absolute cynicism, immediately turning every potential legal benefit into a guarantees manipulation?
Think about a recent opportunity, a chance to collaborate, a new friendship. Did you have clear, objective evidence of harm, or did you just filter out all the good data points because they contradicted your deeply ingrained suspicion? Okay, this next part is where we get to the core of why this mindset is so sticky. It's not just an intellectual failure, it's also a psychological comfort blanket.
A very warm one.
Our sources introduce the idea that cynicism often serves a secondary, deeply harmful purpose. It's a powerful mechanism to evade personal responsibilities.
That's absolutely right. Cynicism is the ultimate emotional defense mechanism because it allows the individual to justify their own stagnation, their lack of action, or their failures without ever having to look inward.
It outsources all the responsibility.
Completely. It offers comfort by placing all the blame on the external world. Why risk starting a new venture and failing when it is so much easier to just declare the entire game is rigged from the start?
Okay, let's systematically unpack the three core components of this cynical evasion as laid out in the sources, starting with the most foundational one, the victim mentality.
The logic is compellingly simple, though it's ultimately destructive. The cynic's formula is this. If everyone else, the government, the corporations, my neighbors, my family, is a bandit or a hypocrite,
then I am simply the innocent victim of a corrupt system.
Exactly. And that is a profoundly comfortable position to be in. It completely relieves the individual of the responsibility to act ethically, to strive constructively, or to even try to solve their own problems.
It's the ultimate out. If I fail, it's not because I lack the effort or the skill, it's because the bandit stole my opportunity.
Right. And I get to maintain my perfect ethical self-image while remaining utterly static. I'm a good person stuck in a bad world.
And that leads directly into the second form of evasion, what the sources call truth avoidance.
Yes. When reality is complex and nuanced and, demands significant intellectual effort to really parse.
The cynic finds a quick shortcut.
A very quick one. They just conclude, if truth is perpetually out of reach, if it's impossible to find, or it's buried under layers of corporate and political spin, then it's simply not worth looking for.
So they don't have to engage with complex topics, things like climate change, economic inequality, or even just difficult relationship dynamics.
Nope. They can just dismiss all the facts and statistics as someone else's agenda.
So this justifies a kind of intellectual laziness and stagnation.
Precisely. They stop seeking discernment and critical thought, and they substitute it with a universal, lazy dismissal. Why do the difficult work of research and analysis when you can just wave your hand and say, it's all lies?
It saves immense emotional and mental effort.
It does. And the third, and maybe the most corrosive element, is the justification for deception. I've noticed this in cynical people. They often operate with, let's say, questionable ethics themselves.
But they see it as a necessary adaptation.
That's the tragic irony of it all. If the cynic truly believes that everyone else can and will deceive, then they grant themselves a permission slip.
The permission slip says,
I have to do it too, or I will be the ultimate sucker. This normalizes manipulative or dishonest behavior within their own lives. They adopt the very tactics they claim to hate.
all while maintaining that comfortable identity of the perpetual victim just struggling to survive in a hostile world.
It's a mechanism for self-corruption. They use the perceived corruption of the outside world to justify the stagnation and the moral compromise of their inner world.
And this is where the sources push back really hard against this absolute view.
They do. Human nature is not a binary switch. It rarely acts in absolutes. Yes, the world contains manipulative people and uncertain situations, but the key to strength is what you, the listener, choose to focus on.
And what you choose to build.
Exactly. We have to stop using the worst examples of human behavior as the guiding star for all human behavior.
The choice is fundamentally between hiding behind that cynical shield
And facing the world with strength and freedom. And the source material is crystal clear about the path to genuine strength.
Where is it found?
It is found in actively contributing to your family and your community. And fundamentally, in being authentic.
Authenticity.
Being authentic, even if it implies painful vulnerability, is what makes us stronger and truly free.
That choice to be authentic is the polar opposite of the cynical shield. Cynicism tries to control risk by building these high walls of isolation.
But authenticity says, I will be honest about my intentions, my capabilities, and my vulnerability.
And I will accept the risk that comes with that honesty, because the reward of genuine connection is worth it.
That risk is the price of admission for genuine connection. The evasion techniques avoiding effort, avoiding truth, avoiding vulnerability, they might grant you a momentary sense of safety.
But they condemn you to a life defined by emotional solitude and perpetual missed opportunities.
True strength isn't the absence of risk. It's the conscious choice to act, despite knowing the risk exists.
It's a moment of profound personal revolution when we realize that the biggest problem isn't the flaws at the outside world,
but the fear of responsibility and the addiction to self-justification within ourselves.
This needs to be a hard, honest question for our listeners to grapple with.
It does. So here it is.
When you reject an opportunity out of suspicion, whether it's a promotion, a new project, or a chance to deepen a relationship, are you truly protecting yourself from an external threat?
Or are you secretly using cynicism as a convenient excuse to avoid the risk of effort and the vulnerability of being truly authentic?
Was that protection, or was it just a comfortable cop-out?
All right, let's shift our focus now to the scale of this problem. It's not just an individual issue.
Right. Our sources call cynicism the silent pandemic of our era, and we need to understand why that metaphor is so apt and so urgent.
That phrasing is incredibly powerful, isn't it?
It is. It captures the spread and the destruction, even though, as we said before, it leaves no physical mark.
It's an infection that spreads through thought, and it erodes the very spirit of cooperation.
So unlike a virus that attacks the body,
this pandemic attacks the spirit. It fundamentally weakens human bonds. It erodes the social fabric from the inside out.
It turns neighbors into suspects.
And it turns shared goals into competitive threats. The contagion is rapid. One person's cynical dismissal can easily infect an entire group, justifying inaction and negativity for everyone involved.
And we participate in spreading it every time we choose that default suspicious thought, don't we?
Absolutely. The source material uses this wonderful image. Every cynical thought you have constructs an invisible wall between you and everyone else.
It's an act of self-imposed isolation.
Every single time you indulge in unfounded suspicion, you are taking a brick and placing it on that wall. You're moving yourself further and further away from the possibility of experiencing true, meaningful connection.
You think you're building a fortress to protect yourself.
But you are actually locking yourself inside a lonely prison cell.
This must come with a huge price tag. And it's a cost not paid in dollars, but in these profound internal and emotional consequences that define the entire quality of a person's life.
The sources identify three main devastating categories for that cost.
What's the first one?
First and foremost, loneliness. The constant pervasive distrust required by the cynic's walls. It naturally leads to deep, persistent solitude.
It has to. You can't be genuinely close to people you fundamentally suspect of trying to harm you.
It's impossible. The walls keep others out, but they also keep the cynic in, leading to just profound disconnection.
And loneliness is a public health crisis in itself. Here we see cynicism as a direct contributing factor.
The second cost is the pervasive distrust itself, which means you can never truly relax.
You're always on guard.
Always. It creates a state of constant high-level vigilance. It's a kind of internal emotional exhaustion. The cynic can never share their true self, their vulnerable hopes, or their genuine fears.
Because that would mean handing a weapon and opportunity for exploitation to the bandits they are certain surround them.
It's a life lived in constant suspicion, which is incredibly draining on your mental resources.
And the third cost, which for me is the most tragic, is a life full of unexplored possibilities. If we look at the cumulative effect of a decade of cynicism, all the friendships never started.
The loves never pursued.
The business partnerships never accepted, the creative risks never taken. All of it dismissed out of hand because the default assumption was deception.
It's a guarantee of a mediocre reality. The cynic is so determined to protect themselves from a hypothetical betrayal that they actively repel any opportunity for genuine good.
So they succeed in avoiding harm.
But they also succeed in avoiding everything worth having. They are safe, but they are impoverished, emotionally, spiritually.
I think the biggest struggle here for people is that the cynic sees their walls as a sign of strength. They think, I'm smart, I'm not going to be fooled.
But the sources challenge that assumption fundamentally. They say true strength is not found in building those protective walls of suspicion and isolation.
Building a wall is an act of fear.
An act of fear and aversion. True strength lies in having the courage, the immense, genuine bravery to tear those walls down, or at least to leave a gate open.
And we have to be honest here. Choosing to trust does carry risks.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
People fail us. Systems fail us. That's a part of life. But the courage to choose connection, despite that knowledge, is where true transformative power lies. It's the difference between being guarded, which is the default cynic position, and being truly resilient.
And resilience isn't about avoiding the fall.
It's about knowing you can get back up and knowing that the risk of connecting is worth the potential reward.
The final transformative element in this section is the act of offering authenticity. In a world defined by this silent pandemic of masked intentions and hidden agendas,
Dropping your own mask and standing there honest about your intentions and your vulnerability,
it is the most revolutionary and powerful thing you can do.
it changes the entire conversation. You stop focusing on how manipulative others might be, and you start focusing on how honest you choose to be.
That is an internal revolution.
It is. It fundamentally alters your relationship with the external world. It shifts your operating system from guilty until proven innocent to, I will wait for evidence, but I refuse to assume the worst.
The cost of the walls is simply too high. It's a life lived perpetually outside the gates of human connection and opportunity.
And if we truly want fulfillment, we have to acknowledge that those walls, built for protection, are actually our greatest barrier to freedom.
So let's make this personal for the listener. Let's try and quantify this cost in your own life.
Okay, really consider this. Considering the opportunities for deep friendship, professional advancement, or transformative personal growth, how many doors have you closed in the last year before you even saw what was truly behind them?
Simply because you operated on the automatic, cynical assumption that the worst outcome was guaranteed.
Measure that cost, not in money, but in emotional richness.
Okay, we've diagnosed the problem, we've exposed the psychological comfort it provides, and we've cataloged the heavy price of isolation.
Now for the most important part.
Now we move entirely to the solution. The source material does not leave us stranded in the analysis. It provides what it calls a revolutionary cure.
And it comes in 4 powerful, practical, and highly actionable steps to actively avoid falling into that cynical trap.
These are mental techniques that you can start applying immediately, today.
These steps give you the power to reclaim control over your own thinking process, which is the only place you can truly find freedom.
Let's start with the first step, which is the foundation for everything else. 1, practice self-observation.
This means you have to actively challenge and question your automatic thoughts of distrust the moment they appear.
Because cynicism almost always runs on autopilot.
It does. It's an ingrained, immediate assumption of negative intent. Self-observation demands that you halt that process.
So when a thought like, they're only doing this because they want something later, pops into your head.
You must stop, and you must ask a critical question. Is this a verifiable fact, or is this just my cynical script running on a loop again?
You have to create space between the external event and your internal ingrained reaction.
Exactly. Do not let suspicion operate without your conscious oversight.
You're essentially seizing the remote control back from that cynical instinct. It's an act of psychological awareness. You notice the thought, you name it as cynicism, and you refuse to let it guide your behavior until you've investigated.
And the second step provides the framework for that investigation. 2, demand evidence, but don't always assume the worst.
This is the functional difference between caution and cynicism we talked about earlier.
It is. You are encouraged to give genuine intention a chance to prove itself. You don't simply accept an offer blindly.
But you also refuse to convict based on suspicion alone.
You require proof of bad intent, a genuine red flag, a consistent pattern of manipulation. You need actual data before you lock them out.
So if a new contact offers a collaboration, instead of automatically concluding they're trying to steal my ideas,
you observe their behavior over time. Are they punctual? Are they honest about their past work? Do their words match their actions?
And if I find no red flags,
then you must allow for the possibility that they are simply trying to build a mutually beneficial project. It is a refusal to leap from suspicion to a guaranteed verdict of guilt.
You maintain vigilance, but you don't sacrifice potential connection.
That's it. And that brings us to the third point, which helps manage expectations and prevents emotional burnout. 3, remember, trust is built.
It's not a light switch.
It's not imposed or instantly given. It is earned. It is not an all-or-nothing thing you flip the first time you meet someone.
It's a careful, sustained process over time,
requiring repeated, positive, reliable interactions. This step is so crucial because it allows you to engage without becoming immediately, recklessly vulnerable.
You can start with low-risk interaction.
Observe their reliability, and then if the evidence supports it, you can incrementally increase your reliance. If you know trust is a process, you don't despair if it takes time. And you don't instantly dismiss people who are appropriately cautious with you in return.
And finally, the fourth and arguably the most powerful step because it comes from within you. 4, choose authenticity.
Be radically honest with yourself and with others about your intentions. Know exactly why you were doing what you were doing. And most importantly,
allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Yes. Not recklessly, but strategically, within safe environments that you have actively assessed using the other steps.
Authenticity is the ultimate antidote to the cynical assumption that everyone wears a mask.
It is. By refusing to wear one yourself, by being transparent about your motivations and your fears, you become a source of genuine connection and stability in a world that desperately needs it.
When you are honest about your own intentions, you are far better equipped to recognize and appreciate genuine intentions in others.
You start projecting clarity, not suspicion. These 4 steps move you from being a passive reactor to the world's perceived darkness,
to being an active creator of light through conscious, honest action. It's an ethical and a psychological commitment.
Which leads us to the ultimate challenge from our source material, the revolutionary experiment.
We don't want you to just think about these ideas. We want you to field test them in your own life, starting now.
So we invite you to try this. For 1 single week, consciously challenge every single cynical thought that enters your mind.
Just 1 week.
1 week. When suspicion arises, you must pause. You must question it immediately using these 4 steps. You seek actual evidence, and you dare to choose connection over isolation.
You dare to believe in genuine goodness, even if just as a temporary experiment.
And then you must observe the results. Track what happens not just in your external relationships. Do people respond more positively to your openness?
But also within yourself, do you feel lighter, less stressed by that constant vigilance, less trapped by those internal walls?
This is about gathering real-world data on your own internal emotional experience.
We have to conclude with the core truth here.
Cynicism is fundamentally a comfortable prison. It's built by your own thoughts, and it's designed to keep you safe from hypothetical harm. It's a structure of evasion and stagnation.
And only you, the listener, hold the key to your own liberation.
The choice to step outside that cage is yours to make. Not just once, but every single time that cynical thought arises.
So, last question for today. Are you willing to conduct the revolutionary experiment for 1 week, even if it feels risky, to test the possibility that the world might contain substantially more genuine goodness and opportunity than your current mindset allows you to see?
What is 1 week of intentional action compared to a lifetime of suspicion?
Wow. That was a profoundly critical deep dive into the architecture of modern cynicism.
It really was.
We define this mindset as the pervasive belief in destructive self-interest, recognizing that it denies genuine good and leads directly to, well, intellectual and emotional paralysis.
We made that crucial distinction between necessary caution, which is a tool for assessment, and the captivity of absolute cynicism. We emphasize that true trust has to be built incrementally over time, not immediately dismissed.
We also expose the secret role cynicism plays as a convenient excuse for avoiding personal responsibility and adopting that passive victim mentality.
And finally, we saw the enormous cost of this silent pandemic, a cost measured not in money, but in profound loneliness and a life full of tragically unexplored possibilities.
And we armed you with the 4 practical steps toward freedom: practicing self-observation, demanding evidence, remembering trust is built, and making the revolutionary choice of authenticity.
But this knowledge is not theoretical. It is transformative, but only if you choose to actively apply it. You have to put these concepts into practice to start dismantling those high walls you have unconsciously built around your own potential.
Don't simply take our word, put everything you heard here to the test. Make this knowledge truly yours.
And we invite you to share your ideas, your thoughts, and your experiences in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this deep dive or found it useful, please like the podcast and subscribe to learn more about similar topics.
Remember, the power is yours.